Since 2000, the world has witnessed an alarming number of traffic accidents that have left not only physical but also emotional and economic scars on millions of people. Over the course of more than 2 decades, statistics have shown both progress and setbacks in road safety, and each figure represents a story, a life forever altered. Reflecting on these numbers is not simply a mathematical exercise, but an urgent call to the collective conscience. In 2000, traffic accidents were already positioned as one of the main causes of death worldwide. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, approximately 1.2 million people lost their lives on the roads during that year, while between 20 and 50 million suffered non-fatal but often disabling injuries. These figures not only reflect human losses, but also a considerable economic cost for the countries affected. As the years progressed, some countries implemented effective measures to reduce these numbers, such as mandatory seatbelt use, strict speed limits, and massive awareness campaigns. However, in other places, the statistics continued to rise due to factors such as the growth of the vehicle fleet, lack of adequate infrastructure, and the increase in distracted drivers. Between 2005 and 2010, electronic devices began to play an increasingly dangerous role in road safety. Using mobile phones while driving became a major cause of accidents, especially among young drivers. Social media and instant messaging apps increased the temptation to take your eyes off the road, even if only for a few seconds. The statistics are clear. Sending or reading a text message while driving increases the likelihood of having an accident by more than 20 times. During these years, some governments began to enact stricter laws against mobile phone use while driving. But the reality is that enforcement of these regulations remains a challenge. In the decade from 2010 to 2020, fatigue and insufficient sleep emerged as critical factors in traffic accidents. Professional drivers, such as truck drivers and haulers, often faced long workdays with few hours of rest. This reality not only affected their physical and mental well-being, but also exponentially increased the risk of fatal accident. Numerous studies showed that driving while drowsy can be as dangerous as driving under the influence of alcohol. The lack of strict policies on driving and rest hours, coupled with the economic pressure on these workers, perpetuated a dangerous cycle. At the same time, alcohol and drug use remained a persistent problem. Although campaigns to prevent driving under the influence of these substances increased considerably, the number of accidents related to their consumption remained alarming. In the United States, for example, approximately 1/3 of road deaths were alcohol-related. Driving under the influence of drugs, both recreational and medicinal, also grew during this period, creating a new set of challenges for road safety authorities. The period between 2020 and 2024 was marked by an unexpected global phenomenon, the COVID-19 pandemic. During the first months of lockdown, roads emptied and traffic accidents fell dramatically in many parts of the world. However, as restrictions began to be lifted, statistics reflected a worrying phenomenon: an increase in reckless driving. Speed limits were more frequently ignored, and serious accidents began to increase. In addition, the emotional impact of the pandemic took its toll on the mental health of many drivers, affecting their ability to concentrate and make safe decisions behind the wheel. Throughout these years, a constant factor in traffic accidents has been the lack of adequate road safety education. From an early age, it is essential to instill safe habits and a responsible mindset around driving. However, in many regions of the world, road safety education remains superficial or non-existent. Young drivers often obtain their licenses with minimal training, and many of them learn to drive by observing the bad habits of their parents or friends. The emotional impact of road accidents is perhaps one of the least visible but most devastating dimensions of this problem. Every accident leaves behind a trail of trauma, pain, and suffering. Victims who survive often face years of physical and emotional rehabilitation. Many people develop post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, anxiety, and depression after a serious accident. Families of victims also carry an immense emotional burden, especially when they lose a loved one or must care for a person who is left with permanent disability. The economic cost of road accidents is also significant. According to recent data, road accidents cost countries between 1% and 3% of their annual gross domestic product (GDP). These costs include medical expenses, lost productivity, damage to infrastructure, and legal costs. For developing countries, these losses are especially devastating, as they divert resources that could have been spent on education, health, or social development. Despite the discouraging statistics, there is also hope. Technological innovations, such as advanced driver assistance systems and autonomous vehicles, promise a safer future on the road. However, no technology can replace individual responsibility. Every driver has a crucial role in preventing accidents, and road safety begins with conscious individual decision. Reflecting on these figures should not be a cold and distant exercise. Behind every number is a story, a life, a family. Every accident we can avoid represents a world of suffering that will never have to happen. As a society, we have a responsibility to take road safety seriously, to respect traffic laws, to constantly educate ourselves, and above all, to remember that every time we get behind, we carry not only our lives in our hands, but also those of those around us. Every year, more than 40 people lose their lives in car accidents in the United States. Behind these shocking numbers are not just mechanical failures or momentary errors, but also a silent and powerful factor: the mental health of drivers. How many times have we heard about a driver who lost control after an intense argument? Or someone who, exhausted by insomnia, closed his eyes for a fatal second? The road is not just a physical space, it is also a reflection of the emotional state of those who travel on. In the United States, more than 20% of fatal accidents are related to driver fatigue. About 60% of drivers admit to driving while feeling extremely stressed or anxious. And, shockingly, about 9% of fatal accidents directly involve distractions related to cell phone use. These numbers are not just numbers, they are lives, families, and futures cut short. Endless traffic, deadlines, financial worries, or personal problems are just a few factors that cause stress in drivers. When someone is behind the wheel under a constant state of pressure, their reflexes slow down, their decision-making is compromised, and their patience disappears. Stress not only affects the mind but also the body, causing muscle tension, fatigue, and increased irritability. Often underestimated, anxiety is another key factor affecting drivers' performance. The constant feeling of danger, the irrational fear of an accident, or the inability to concentrate on the present can lead to sudden maneuvers or wrong decisions. Many drivers experience panic attacks while behind the wheel, which can be catastrophic. Physical symptoms such as palpitations, excessive sweating, and dizziness can directly interfere with the ability to safely operate a vehicle. Sleeping less than 6 hours a night dramatically increases the chances of being involved in a car accident. A fatigued driver has reaction times similar to those of a person who has consumed excessive alcohol. Fatigue is not always obvious. Sometimes drivers think they can stay awake with coffee or loud music, but the truth is that the brain cannot be fooled. Fatigue affects not only responsiveness, but also the ability to make quick and effective decisions in critical situations. Depression is not just sadness. It is a mental state that clouds judgment, decreases energy, and reduces concentration. A depressed driver may lose interest in their own safety and that of others, or may experience moments of prolonged distraction. In addition, depression is often accompanied by intrusive thoughts and hopelessness, which poses a significant risk behind the wheel. People who suffer from depression may also experience chronic fatigue, which further increases the risk of accident. Substance use not only affects reflexes and spatial awareness, but also impairs judgment and reduces responsiveness to unexpected situations. Many fatal accidents are caused by drivers who have consumed alcohol or recreational drugs, but there are also dangers related to prescription medications, such as sleeping pills or anti-anxiety drugs. These medications, although legal and prescribed by professionals, can cause drowsiness, confusion, and slower reaction time. Responding to a text, changing a song, or even checking the GPS are distractions that can cost lives. 1 second of distraction at 60 miles per hour is equivalent to traveling more than 80 feet without looking at them. The problem is not only technological, there are also emotional distractions. A phone argument or bad news can take the driver's mind far away from the wheel. Visual, cognitive, and manual distractions are equally dangerous and often occur simultaneously. Disorders such as ADHD, bipolar disorder, or even obsessive-compulsive disorder can affect driving. People with these disorders may have difficulty maintaining concentration, controlling impulses, or responding appropriately to road stimuli. In addition, some of these disorders may be accompanied by other aggravating factors, such as lack of sleep or the use of medication, with sedative side effects. Road safety depends not only on the advanced systems of modern cars, but also on human behavior. Observing traffic signs, avoiding cell phone use while driving, and maintaining a safe distance between vehicles are basic but crucial practices to prevent accidents. Road safety awareness programs are essential. Educational campaigns that address issues such as fatigue, stress, and distractions can change attitudes and save lives. In addition, it is essential that authorities implement policies that force transport companies to guarantee adequate breaks for professional drivers. As individuals, each driver must be aware of their physical and emotional state before starting a trip. Taking frequent breaks on long journeys, avoiding driving under the influence of substances, getting enough sleep, and, above all, recognizing when we are not in optimal condition to drive are decisions that can make a difference. The environment in which a driver operates plays a fundamental role in their mental health and, therefore, in their performance behind the wheel. Many times, traffic accidents are not simply the result of a momentary distraction or a mechanical failure, but are deeply linked to external factors that affect the emotional and psychological stability of those who drive. Among these factors, the work environment, the influence of society, and road infrastructure stand out. The work environment is a constant source of stress for many drivers, especially those who rely on driving for a living, such as hauliers, taxi drivers, and delivery drivers. Long working hours, tight deadlines, and the pressure to meet financial targets create a level of tension that can be difficult to manage. Many professional drivers work more than 12 hours a day, with minimal breaks and under conditions that are not always optimal for their physical and mental well-being. Fatigue, chronic exhaustion, and a lack of time to properly switch off are factors that increase the risk of making fatal mistakes on the road. Work stress not only affects concentration and reaction capacity, but can also manifest itself in the form of aggressiveness behind the wheel. A driver under pressure may react disproportionately to a minor inconvenience, such as a car that fails to yield or a pedestrian who unexpectedly crosses the road. These impulsive reactions not only put the driver's life at risk, but also that of other road users. On the other hand, modern society imposes its own challenges on drivers. We live in an era where the culture of multitasking and immediacy has permeated almost every aspect of our lives. Drivers are not immune to this trend. The constant need to be connected, to respond to messages, to check social networks or emails, has turned electronic devices into a constant source of distraction. Even when they are not physically handling a phone, many drivers are mentally distracted, worried about their work or personal obligations, or simply pending notifications. Excessive use of electronic devices not only diverts attention from the road, but also affects the ability to respond to unforeseen situations. Various studies have shown that a driver who checks his or her phone while driving has a reaction time similar to someone who has consumed excessive alcohol. However, unlike alcohol consumption, phone use while driving is not always perceived as a serious problem, which further increases its dangerousness. Society also influences the mental health of drivers through cultural expectations and norms. In many communities, driver education remains a pending subject. The lack of effective programs that teach children and young people not only the rules of the road, but also respect and empathy on the road, perpetuates irresponsible behavior in future drivers. Good road safety education not only reduces the number of accidents, but also contributes to creating a culture of respect and collaboration among all road stakeholders. Another external factor that directly impacts the mental health of drivers is road infrastructure. Poorly designed roads, with dangerous curves, poor pavement, and poor signage, represent a constant risk for those who travel on them. A driver who must face dangerous routes or endless traffic jams on a daily basis experiences high levels of stress and anxiety. Signage is another critical aspect of road safety. Confusing, missing, or contradictory signs can cause confusion among drivers and increase the possibility of accidents. Good road infrastructure not only facilitates the flow of vehicles, but also contributes to reducing driver stress by providing a predictable and safe environment. Furthermore, urban areas with high levels of traffic can lead to what is known as urban fatigue, a state of mental exhaustion caused by constant exposure to noise, pollution, and the need to always be alert to unpredictable movements of other vehicles or pedestrians. This type of fatigue can be as dangerous as physical fatigue, as it affects concentration and response capacity. To mitigate these external factors, it is essential to implement public policies that address not only road infrastructure, but also the working conditions of professional drivers. Companies must ensure reasonable working hours, adequate breaks, and psychological support programs for their employees. In the social sphere, it is necessary to foster a road culture based on responsibility and mutual respect. Awareness campaigns must go beyond advertising slogans and really reach the behavior of drivers, teaching them the importance of switching off, respecting speed limits, and avoiding distractions. Each person and each driver must be aware of how their environment affects their emotional and mental well-being. Self-reflection, recognizing one's own limits, and seeking professional help when necessary are crucial steps to ensure not only one's own safety, but also that of all those who share the road. Driving is not just a technical skill, it is also an exercise in emotional and mental responsibility that requires full attention and a constant commitment to one's own and collective well-being. In today's fast-paced world, where work and personal demands are constant, the possibility of making critical errors increases considerably. Whether in the professional, academic, or even everyday activities, errors can have serious consequences, both for the person who makes them and for those who depend on their performance. At the same time, stress and anxiety have become public health problems that affect the quality of life of millions of people. Therefore, it is essential not only to understand the causes behind these errors, but also to learn and apply effective techniques to reduce them, while properly managing stress and anxiety. To address this issue comprehensively, it is necessary to first understand what critical errors are. These are failures that occur at key moments, when a small distraction or simple carelessness can trigger serious consequences. These errors are often associated with factors such as fatigue, overconfidence, inattention, or cognitive overload. Identifying these factors is the first step to implementing effective reduction strategies. Double-checking is one of the most effective techniques for avoiding critical errors, especially in tasks that require precision and attention. This technique involves checking an action or task twice before completing it. It can be applied in everyday situations as well as in work, medical, or industrial context. For example, in the medical field, professionals often double-check medications before administering them to patients to ensure that the dosage and type of medication are correct. Similarly, in the aviation field, pilots use double-check checklists and procedures before taking off. Double-checking not only prevents human errors, but also provides greater confidence in the execution of complex tasks. However, for this technique to be effective, it is important that it is not performed mechanically, but with full attention and focus. Active pausing involves taking short breaks during prolonged tasks. These breaks allow the mind and body to temporarily recover, which decreases mental and physical fatigue. Studies have shown that working without a break for long periods reduces concentration and increases the likelihood of making mistakes. An effective active break can include breathing exercises, muscle stretching, or simply a few minutes of complete disconnection from the task. One popular method is the Pomodoro technique, which involves working for 25 minutes with maximum concentration and then taking a 5-minute break. This cycle is repeated several times, with a longer break after 4 cycles. Checklists are simple but extremely effective tools for reducing critical errors. A well-designed checklist ensures that no important step in a process is overlooked. For example, in the construction industry, engineers use checklists to ensure that each stage of a project meets safety standards. On a personal level, daily to-do lists help organize priorities and avoid forgetfulness. The secret of a good checklist lies in its clarity and simplicity. It should contain key points and be easy to follow. The visualization technique consists of mentally imagining the process of a task before performing it. This allows you to anticipate problems, plan solutions, and reduce anxiety in challenging situations. For example, professional athletes use visualization to mentally prepare before a competition. Similarly, a driver can visualize a complex route before setting out on a long journey. This technique not only helps reduce errors, but also improves confidence and overall performance. Mindfulness is a technique that involves being fully present in the current moment, without distractions or judgment. This practice helps improve concentration, reduce stress, and avoid errors caused by lack of attention. By practicing mindfulness, a person can identify when their mind begins to wander and redirect their focus to the task at hand. Deep breathing is a simple yet powerful technique for reducing stress and anxiety. It involves inhaling deeply, holding the air for a few seconds, and exhaling slowly. This technique helps reduce the heart rate, calm the nervous system, and decrease feelings of anxiety. It is especially useful in high-pressure situations or when a person feels like they are losing control. Meditation is an ancient practice that helps reduce stress. Millions of people around the world are affected by road accidents. These incidents not only leave material damage, but also generate a profound impact on the lives of the people involved, their families, and society at large. The consequences of a road accident go far beyond the visible, affecting not only the physical body, but also the mind, emotions, and the economic and social fabric of community. The physical impact of road accidents is, in most cases, the most obvious consequence. Injuries range from minor bruises to severe fractures, amputations, irreversible neurological damage, or even death. Common injuries include bone fractures, head trauma, spinal cord injuries, burns, and laceration. These injuries not only require immediate medical attention, but also a long and often painful rehabilitation process. Physical therapies, reconstructive surgeries, and ongoing treatments become part of victims' daily lives. However, not all people have access to these resources, which can lead to permanent disabilities and a significant loss in their quality of life. Rehabilitation involves not only physical recovery, but also emotional recovery. Many victims must relearn basic skills such as walking, writing, or even communicating. In addition, constant physical pain and uncertainty about a full recovery can trigger emotional and mental disorder. The emotional impact of a traffic accident is just as devastating, if not more so, than the physical one. The psychological trauma experienced by victims can last for years, even after physical injuries have healed. Many people develop post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, chronic anxiety, panic attacks, or depression. Memories of the accident may appear in the form of recurring nightmares or intrusive thoughts, preventing the victim from leading a normal life. Grief and loss are other emotional dimensions that affect not only the victims, but also their loved ones. Losing a loved one in a traffic accident leaves deep emotional scars that can last a lifetime. Families face not only the pain of loss, but also the adaptation to a new reality without that person. The absence of a loved one can cause an emotional void and, in many cases, trigger mental health problems such as depression or anxiety. Furthermore, accidents not only affect the people directly involved, but also their families and communities. Caregivers and relatives often have to take on new responsibilities, both financial and emotional, to support the victim. This can lead to emotional exhaustion, financial stress, and a feeling of helplessness. The human cost of traffic accidents is incalculable, but the economic impact is also alarming. Medical expenses, therapies, surgeries, medications, and special equipment required for recovery represent a significant financial burden. Added to this is the loss of work productivity for both victims and their caregivers. Many people are unable to return to work due to their injuries, affecting their economic stability and that of their family. In addition, governments and health systems must allocate considerable resources to care for victims of road accidents. Ambulances, hospitals, medical personnel, and rehabilitation programs represent a significant portion of national budget. These resources could be allocated to other critical areas if the number of accidents were reduced. The economic impact of road accidents is not limited only to victims and their families, but also affects the economy of a country as a whole. Traffic disruptions, damage to road infrastructure, and the need for emergency services represent additional costs. According to the World Health Organization, road accidents account for approximately 3% of the gross domestic product (GDP) of many countries. It is essential to recognize that most road accidents are prevented. Implementing effective road safety measures such as awareness campaigns, stricter seatbelt laws, and banning the use of mobile devices while driving can significantly reduce the number of accidents. In addition, strengthening emergency response systems and investing in safer road infrastructure are crucial steps to minimize the consequences of accidents. Ultimately, road safety is a shared responsibility. Every driver, pedestrian, and passenger has a role to play in ensuring that our roads are safe places. Driving responsibly, respecting traffic rules, and being aware of one's own physical and emotional limitations are actions that can make the difference between life and death. Society must also play an active role in supporting victims of road accidents. Creating emotional support networks, support groups, and work integration programs for those affected are essential for their comprehensive recovery. Road accidents are not just an individual problem, but a social crisis that requires a collective response. By understanding and addressing the physical, emotional, and economic consequences of these incidents, we can move towards a future where roads are a safer space for everyone. Prevention, education, and ongoing support are key to reducing the devastating impact of road accidents on our lives and our community. Preventing road accidents is a task that involves individuals, governments, businesses, and society as a whole. It is not enough to know the rules of the road. It is necessary to understand the responsibility that comes with being behind the wheel and to apply practical and effective solutions to reduce risks on the road. Below, we will explore different key areas where preventative measures and solutions can be implemented to address this global problem. Road safety education programs are the cornerstone of any accident prevention strategy. Comprehensive road safety education not only teaches the rules of the road, but also promotes values such as respect, empathy, and responsibility. From an early age, children should learn the importance of crossing streets safely, respecting traffic signs, and understanding the risks associated with traffic. For young people and adults, road safety education programs should focus on preventing risky behaviors, such as alcohol and drug use before driving, mobile phone use while driving, and speed. Specific programs for young drivers are crucial, as this group represents a high percentage of victims in traffic accidents. Initiatives that combine theory and practice, such as driving simulators and awareness campaigns in schools and universities, have proven effective in reducing risky behavior. As for psychological interventions, cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT) has proven to be an effective tool to help drivers manage stress, anxiety, and other emotional problems that can affect their performance behind the wheel. CBT allows negative thought patterns to be identified and replaced with healthier and more constructive habits. In addition, this therapy can be especially useful for drivers who have experienced traumatic accidents and need to overcome the fear of driving again. On the other hand, techniques such as mindfulness and relaxation are accessible and effective tools to reduce stress and improve driving performance. Concentration. Practicing mindfulness helps drivers stay present in the moment, thereby reducing distractions and improving their ability to respond to unexpected situations on the road. Public policies play a crucial role in preventing road accidents. Road safety legislation must be clear, strict, and backed up by effective sanctions for those who do not comply with the rule. Mandatory use of seatbelts, prohibition of the use of mobile devices while driving, and speed limits are just some examples of life-saving policy. Likewise, encouraging the use of public transport and alternative means of transport, such as bicycles or shared mobility systems, contributes not only to reducing traffic in cities, but also to decreasing the number of vehicles on the roads and therefore the risk of accident. Awareness campaigns also play an important role, as they sensitize the population to the risks associated with irresponsible driving. These campaigns must be constant, impactful, and adapted to different audiences in order to generate a real change in driver behavior. Technology is another powerful tool to improve road safety. Advanced driver assistance systems, such as automatic emergency braking, blind spot sensors, and lane departure warnings, have significantly reduced the risk of accidents in recent years. Moreover, autonomous vehicles hold promise for the future, as they eliminate the human factor, responsible for most driving errors. However, the implementation of these technologies must be accompanied by adequate infrastructure and clear regulation to ensure their safe and efficient use. Smart roads equipped with sensors and monitoring systems can also help reduce accidents by providing real-time information on traffic, weather conditions, and other risk factors. To close this analysis, it is important to reflect on the human impact that road accidents have. The story of Sophia, a girl of just 6 years old who lost her parents in a traffic accident caused by a distracted driver, is a painful reminder of what is at stake every time someone decides to ignore road safety rules. After the accident, Sophia had to face not only the loss of her family, but also years of therapy and adaptation to a new reality. Stories like Sophia's are more common than we think, and they remind us that every decision we make behind the wheel can have consequences that go far beyond ourselves. Every time a driver decides to text, exceed the speed limit, or drive under the influence of alcohol, they are putting their lives and the lives of everyone around them at risk. Preventing traffic accidents is not only the responsibility of governments or institutions, it is a commitment that each of us must take seriously. At the end of the day, Every decision counts, and every responsible action can make the difference between life and death. If this reflection has made you think, I invite you to join our community by subscribing to this channel, Crash or Safe to the Limit. Together we can raise awareness, learn, and work towards a future where